As soon as this is an ebony station, all are welcome, a bit like our clubs, anyone could come. Black entertainment with black presenters and black topics. So feel free to join the safari, right? This is not the zoo. This is the real deal right here at lightningfm.co.uk.
The Bible has been translated in a manner that if you take it literally, you will never really fully understand God and his true purpose, because you can open the book from Genesis to Revelation. You can never read where it says black people, but we are in the book from Genesis through to Revelation.
If I've got a difference of opinion with you, but I know that I've got to go and stand in front of white people tomorrow, I cannot afford to go out there and make you look like a buffoon in front of them. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back you, hoping that you will back me too, right? And then when we're outside, when we're away from them, then we can sit down and sort out our little differences there. That's what we need to do.
I do a bit of psychology, adolescent psychology, child psychology in itself, and I'm quite aware of how the subconscious can be programmed by subliminal messages.
I agree with the stop and search because, well, people are taking liberties with other people's lives. On the other hand, though, the police aren't going to be fair. They are going to take liberties and they are going to, mistreat our children.
I know I'm asking for the government for funding, but that's something that I think the government ought to take responsibility for. Why are they funding things that don't necessarily benefit the people? It generates money, then they don't put that money back where it's needed. It doesn't make any sense.
If we know the enemy's schools are failing, then if you believe in God, know God, trust God, and he's in you, then why don't you build or establish an alternative to that which is killing you? I guarantee that you will hear something that may, in fact, save your life.
lightningfm.co.uk. This is God's Talk Show. I am Danny God. I'm in the studio with two producers. We got our cameraman producer and we've got our radio producer. We got a little team we got going on here. This God's Talk Show team. We're kind of diverse. Also in the studio is Brandy Lee, After Dark UK, DJ from Lightning FM, club promoter, businessman, family man, and the son of Sherry Groce, who was shot by police officers, and which that incident sparked the 1985 Brixton riots, if you didn't know. As a result, she was left in a wheelchair for 26 years, of which 10 was funded and the other 16 was basically financed by her family. How do you, tell me, how do you not seek out Lovelock and his family and get retribution? How do you not do that? How do you keep yourself this side of the law?
My mum. My mum led by example, yeah, and she didn't show remorse, for what happened, and when I see the way she's dealt with him, I mean, she's the victim. We're, I'd say, secondary, as in the victims of the incident. Yeah, she is the first. And when you see the way she deals with it, then we have to follow suit. Now, yeah, there's loads of emotions. There's always been emotions around this incident. I'll give you an example. I remember times when I'd get on a bus and I'd get into an argument with the bus driver and he said, call the police. I say, call the police. Call them now. Call them. And I'll sit on the bus and wait for the police to come, just to start a fight with them and end up in the police station, and that was just me sort of.
Did that happen a lot?
Venting my frustration. It happened a few times.
What did they do when they found out who you were?
I'll tell you about one incident, yeah. I got arrested one time. Bearing in mind, I never had a criminal record,
We're black. We all get arrested. Right. That's just like going to school.
But yeah. I'm just saying, right? And I got arrested one time and put into a police cell. I was in the station and the policeman opened the hatch and said, Cherry Groce, is that your mum? I said, yeah. So I'm thinking now, okay, maybe this guy wants to, show some compassion towards the situation. And he turns around and says, it's a pity she didn't die, and closed the flat. I was so mad, and I bounced off the cells that day. But they, by the time they let me out, the guy had gone off duty. And I'll never forget. I'm just gonna say it how it is. Do you know what I mean? Because it didn't happen.
Talk the things, man. Go on.
Don't talk it as it is. I was bailed to come back to the police station. So at the time, I was like, you know what? I'd planned what I was gonna do. Do you understand? I said to myself, I went to the Moolies opposite Brixton, and I bought a screwdriver, and I went into the police station. And the guy was interviewing me, and I said to him, weren't listening to nothing he was saying. I just said, what was that you said about my mum again? He says, what? I said, just say the same thing that you said about my mum when I came in last time. And he says, it weren't me, mate. I wasn't the officer on that day. And I thought, okay. I thought, boy, that must be God. Because right now, I would have been in jail having this interview with you. You understand? And obviously, that was then. I mean, a lot of times passed. And one thing that kept me on the straight and narrow was that I could not allow police to come to my house again, to my mum's house again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kept me focused. And that's what made me, not do certain things. Because, things go through your mind. They must go through your mind. But I said to myself, I have to look at my mum and say to myself, number one, I cannot allow that to happen to her again. And number two, if she can be a living example of dealing with this situation, I have to deal with it too. Simple as that. So it's my mum's strength that's allowed me not to deal with things in a certain way. So I'm going to carry on that same dignity that my mum had. It's as simple as that.
I want to celebrate your mum's strength. I want to. I can't tell the last time I got up at 9 o'clock, but I'm going to get up at 9 o'clock. Yeah. We're talking 9 o'clock in the morning, I work nights. So you want to celebrate your mum's strength. You want to celebrate your mum's dignity. You want to celebrate your mum's integrity. You want to celebrate your mum's memory. You want to commemorate. You want her to be remembered. Now, let me get this straight. On the day of the funeral, you want to bring Brixton to a standstill.
That's right.
You want to have a procession from Normandy Road, where the incident took place in 1985, to the church, and then a procession from the church to the burial ground.
That's correct.
Slow march. You want a public procession. You want anybody who was involved with Brixton Right, anybody who feels what you're saying, anybody who feels the energy that was the powder keg for that experience, you want them to take part in this procession. Not a march, a procession to celebrate the dignity of Sherry Groce. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Elaborate.
Yeah, it's very important to me and the family that Brixton comes to a standstill on that morning. And this is to honour my mum for the 26 years that she's been in that position. We're doing this walk in honour of somebody who lost the use of their legs, after being a victim, an innocent victim at that. Mum's never had a criminal record, never done anything bad, and she ended up paralysed for the rest of her life in a wheelchair and ended up dying as a consequence of it. Now, there's two elements to this walk. The first being to honour and recognise my mum for what she's been through and the significant changes that have been made since that incident, because a lot of us don't realise that there was laws that got changed as a result of that incident. Brixton was changed as a result of that incident. And also to remember and pay respects to the people who stood up on that day when that happened. Because that was important to us as a family, to know that we had the support of the community on this, and it wasn't just us alone going through this on our own, that there was people that felt that pain and was prepared to stand up for that. And you know, that's what basically what we're going to be representing when we walk on that morning.
People moved to Brixton on the back of the reputation that Brixton had. I remember Wyclef Jean from Fuji's coming to Brixton to do parties because Brixton had this reputation, and that reputation was built on the back of that experience. There's a whole load of Boppies, Yuppies and West Africans and Caribbean people that say, I'm from Brixton. Brixton is synonymous with blackness because of what took place in 85 and 81. So if you've ever been one of those persons that just, you know, had that question asked of you, are you from Brixton, or you just feel safe in Brixton? You know, you sat down and been able to do things in Brixton which in 85 they probably couldn't do. You're actually, whether you know it or not, a beneficiary of the pain that Brandley and his family went through. And I think it's only fitting that we demonstrate to the authorities that be, who are trying to whitewash, as I said, this story that you're getting here is not on Wikipedia, and what is on Wikipedia is being disputed by policemen. All right? It is important that we come out in force and we do that procession. We're not marching, we're celebrating. We're celebrating a great lady, in my opinion, and we're going to march to this church, and then we're going to have a procession to the burial ground. I think it's very important, very, very important, considering the role Brixton plays in Great Britain as regards to black people. It's like the capital of blackness. We have to celebrate that. We have to make sure that people know it's important to us. You said something while we were on the break, that the police officer who actually was leading the raid and had the gun failed his training. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you look at the information, it will tell you in black and white that happened. I mean, there was the injustice of what happened, and you might ask me, how do I feel around those situations and what happened or whatever. I said to you, I was very young at the time, and all I knew is that my mum was hurt, and then now I have to be there for my mum. So I didn't really concern myself with all the ins and outs. My immediate reaction was to be there and comfort my mum in her time of need.
Okay.
Now, some of the information I'm telling you about is some of the stuff that I've only just read up myself, that I've only known like a couple of months ago myself, because we never really spoke about this situation, even in the house, even as a family. We never really talked about it. It was a thing. It was a bit of a taboo subject. Our way of dealing with it is not talking about it. We move on. Let's just deal with life. But you know, in situations like this now, what you're faced with, you tend to now want to look at everything and scrutinise everything that's happened. Now, I mean, I explained to you before, I don't want to get too deep into the politics around it, because I don't want to divert from the mission at hand. And the mission at hand is to commend and respect and pay tribute to my mum on the 24th. We're going to do a dig